You should be the host here.
We're laughing at you.
We're both Munster people, diehard Munster people, and we want them to do well.
The Red 78 with Alan Quinlan and Niamh Briggs. Nobody knows Munster rugby better.
I'd like to think I know a lot. Hello and welcome along. I'm Alan Quinlan and you're listening to the Red 78 here on the Rugby channel. And with me as always is Niamh Briggs. Niamh, how are you? Tottenham beaten at the weekend, so that disappointed you, I'm sure. You've let Manchester United back into it now as well.
I know, pretty devastated. Very bad result.
How was your weekend? Had you camp or did you get to the Munster game?
No, we had camp and then I got home to Waterford for a day, so it was great.
Oh, very good, very good.
I haven't been home for a long time, so it was nice. Big game for you tonight, Quinny.
Big game tonight, yeah, it is, yeah. United certainly want to try and avenge that 5-0 beating we gave them in Old Trafford back in October. But anyway, let's get on to the rugby. A good weekend for Munster. Kind of had a feeling that, and we'll analyse it in a minute, that a little bit of the old kind of feeling around the stadium, people leaving. I think I wasn't at the game, but I watched it, and speaking to friends, there was a real good factor leaving the stadium. We put out, as always, we want people to be involved. You can tweet us at the Rugby channel or leave a comment on wherever you get your podcast. But we put out a tweet yesterday, and you want to go through some of the comments?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I agree with you. I obviously wasn't there either, but looking back on it the next morning, genuinely, like, the atmosphere kind of gave you a good feel-good factor, didn't it? The buzz that was around, I think people, were definitely big crowds. Definitely points were flowing, and you kind of felt like people just really got behind them. And I think that's look, it's an issue we'll chat about later on, but I think that's what Thomond Park does. It's so difficult for teams to come and win. The crowd really are super there that it creates that extra buy. But
just before you do that, Andy Dunn said last week and off the ball that it's kind of exhausting supporting Munster, and he feels the pain of the Munster fans. This week, it's all positive, isn't it? Because when I put out the tweet yesterday, the comments are so much better and more positive.
Yeah, absolutely, completely. And I think Andy's got a bit of a point. It's definitely a roller coaster. It's a bit like supporting Spurs at the moment. Carmel O'Connor, same team would be good in relation to the Ulster game this weekend. Will be a big Ulster backlash after the Toulouse game. Saturday's game was unreal. The atmosphere was incredible. Munster's performance was spectacular. Moo and a boo, which I liked. Alan O'Flynn, which I actually thought was a really good comment in relation to when Murray was in the bin. There were no frills, injection of pace. You could see that it kept the opposition on the back foot as they were left guessing.
Just as a coach on that tweet, is that down to a little bit more confidence, a little bit more composure, better decision making? Why was that? Because I agree with that comment that they seem more composed.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. You're talking about comfort zones. I think at that time, I thought Munster were literally whatever Exeter were doing. I felt like that they were kind of, we can deal with what they're going to throw at us. We can deal with that backline attack. We can deal with their broken play. We can deal with Dave Ures. And I think that they definitely learned lessons from previous week. And I actually wasn't too sure about this two-legged kind of format, and I thought it was brilliant. I thought it actually produced a huge amount of excitement over the weekend across all the games. But I think that you look at them being at home, they were definitely on top of the breakdown. And when you have that kind of confidence that even though you're kind of chasing the scoreboard a small bit, you kind of feel like you're on top. And even if they were going to score, you kind of felt like you could go back and get another one. That does a huge amount for a team and their ability to kind of get after things. I thought they did that really well. On Newcastle, similar, very exciting to see the teams gelling so well and Thomond exuding so much energy and excitement. I'd keep the team the same and maybe switching of Casey to start and Murray off the bench. People were talking about trying to get Casey to start. Paddy was saying Paddy 4, 6, 7, 8. What a name. Casey surely has to start against Toulouse. But yes, is that, which is not something that he probably want to know, but or listen or hear, but is the fact that he provides that energy off the bench, is that kind of Munster's weapon? The likes of him and Thomas Ahern coming off the bench, they have a huge amount of skill, but also a huge amount of pace.
Yeah, you don't want to be one of those players that is just kind of seen as an impact player, because Craig Casey, I'm sure, would want to start. And he's putting pressure on Conor Murray, isn't he? And I thought Conor Murray was really good over these two legs, particularly defensively. He's made one or two little mistakes last week over in Exeter, but in a game like that, he made so many tackles. And I think it's a type of game when you're controlling a game, and if you're ahead, do you want Conor Murray on the field, or do you want Craig Casey? I think, so Craig Casey obviously his big strength is probably speed, movement, passing ability. It's probably quicker. So it depends where you are in the game. But I think it's brilliant if you want to pick up the pace, you want to slow down the pace. And this is not being disrespectful to Conor Murray. I just think his experience and his defensive capabilities and his kicking game are probably better. So it's great to have that mixture.
And this is, Casey's young. We kind of, he's been around for a few years now, so we kind of feel like that, he's probably older than what he is, but he's still quite young. And I still think he's learning a lot. His decision making on the ball at times needs to be a little bit better, I think. And look, I think for me, you're looking at a team that you're moving around the park, and then with 20 minutes to go, you're bringing on somebody like him. I think it's worked for Munster at the moment. And I agree. I get frustrated. I think it's very easy to talk about Murray and his pace and how slow he is. I think it's just a product of how Munster play. I think inside their own half, they don't like to keep possession very often, so it results in a lot of kicking. And
I think it'll be really interesting, Niamh. We'll finish the tweets in a sec, but I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens over the summer, who comes in as attack coach. And there's absolutely no reason why Conor Murray can't play in a team that's attacking more. And I think that narrative that's kind of out there is a bit unfair in him. I just think, yeah, for sure, Craig Casey has that spring and that energy, and he needs to learn more. So I think pre-season will be really interesting for both of those guys, and the whole evolution of needing to expand their game a little bit. Continue on. There's probably a few more. Is there?
Sorry, yeah, there is. They're all very positive. They're all speaking in relation to next week, and obviously we'll get onto that. But front row rugby, the strongest available team needs to start. Plenty of minutes in the bank from the winter. They just talk about putting out the strongest team. We need to go for the URC, Martin McNeilish, and our best chance of a trophy. Rory Kremen did a very interesting thing. I was kind of blew my mind. I thought Joey Carberry was very good this weekend, and I know I've been harping on about this for quite a while. I genuinely still believe his best position is 15. Rory Kremen would love to see Carberry at 13. Has it all, pace, passing, sight, just needs to learn to defend the 13 channel. Opens up the out half spot then too. Look,
again, I think that's something that maybe looked at for next season. It's not going to happen at this stage of the season.
No, it's not. And I also think 13 asks a lot of him defensively, which I'm not really sure. But D-fin photography, it's good, not perfect. Something to definitely build on. An immense effort given the long line of injuries. And then we'll just finish with this one. Adrian O'Donoghue. From my perch high up in the East Stand, I watched an incredible match. Carberry was my man in the match. I felt we kicked poorly from play. Munster bench was a bigger impact. Ahern, Casey and Condell gave an exciting energy. Munster's 16th man will be even louder in the Aviva. And that brings me on to the very, very last one. James Broderick. Morning, Alan. Question for you and Niamh in the know. Was there any effort made to get to the quarterfinals into one of the GA grounds, or was it one of the Munster branch hands, or was it out of the Munster branch hands, an IRFU decision?
Regarding the Ed Sheeran concert and the Toulouse fixture, it's going to. Yes, I can answer that question. There was in the last couple of weeks, last month, I think the questions were asked about the possibility of Munster beating Exeter and Toulouse getting over Ulster and Munster having a potential home quarter-final. That was looked into. the GA were contacted. Limerick, Cork and Thurles were being muted as possible venues because of the Ed Sheeran concert that's been booked a year and a half ago, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I don't think the GA, and this is not any criticism of the GA, I don't think they could commit any of the stadiums, because you see what's happening in Páirc Uí Chaoimh with Cork and Kerry and their match, and that's still not been sorted. So I think there's uncertainty. What that game could have been moved to Thurles or Limerick, so they couldn't commit any stadium to Munster Rugby. So it was looked at. I think people would love to see, if it wasn't in Thomond Park, you'd love to be going down to the Gaelic grounds and having it there and having a kind of a party atmosphere and something unique. But it's not going to happen. It's going to be on in the Aviva now. And like I said, we'll talk about the Ed Sheeran thing in a little while. But
Weird, while we're on it, just let's bang it out now, because we can talk about the
Okay,
Munster thing
okay.
afterwards. Like my thought is that this concert's been, well in place before the fixtures were given out to that season structure. And I think we talked about COVID and the loss of revenue. We both know the financial strains that are in Irish rugby at the moment, but not only that, but in Munster. I think when you get an opportunity to make revenue very quickly from something as big as this, I can kind of see why they didn't turn it down.
yes, and I think, look, just to kind of put it in context, with everything that's happened with COVID, I think Munster have lost a lot of revenue, like a lot of sporting organisations, but were financially kind of under a bit of pressure before COVID. Ed Sheeran, getting the opportunity to kind of allow an Ed Sheeran concert, two of them to come in there, make revenue from that, was looked at, and it's been booked a year and a half. I think normally the EPCR quarterfinals are on in April. They're never really on in May. I know the season this year has been stretched out, and we would have known about that probably 12 months ago. But they're not normally this late in May, quarterfinals. And there is a lot of comments online, and I saw them straight after the match on Saturday, and I saw lots of people venting their frustration that it's an absolute joke and Munster have sold out their team for an Ed Sheeran concert. It's not that simple. This was planned a long, long time ago, and normally, as I said, those quarterfinals would be on in April. But to change it now, and actually, this isn't about pay cuts for players, but there's been a lot of staff in Munster Rugby who've taken pay cuts. There's staff in Munster Rugby who've been let go.
Yeah.
They've lost their jobs, and there's financial issues. So Munster would have been crazy not to look at the possibility of getting the concert into Thomond Park to make some revenue over 2 nights. And it's just the timing of the games, unfortunately, have fallen on that weekend, the quarterfinals, and probably up to 5 minutes to go on Saturday night. Munster were going to Belfast to play Ulster, and that all changed. So to have every permutation right and to have gotten it right here and actually dismissed the concert and said we're not taking a chance, I think it would have been financially stupid.
Yeah.
Because, if Munster ended up being away and Munster said no to the Ed Sheeran concert, well, then they'd lost hundreds of thousands of revenue that they're going to get from this concert. So I think it's up on 400,000 or 500,000 that they can make, which is a lot of money for rugby development stuff that you and I will get into another time. But there needs to be more investment in development and continuous investment in all the provinces. So I just think it's a bit unfair. My first thought was, what the hell are we doing? We need to have this game in Thomond Park, it going out of there. But when you peel it back and you look at the logistics and the reasons, it's a no-brainer. They had to take the chance and go with the concert and get in the money. The game at the Aviva Stadium, Toulouse will take 35% of the revenue. 65% will go to Munster and the IRFU. So that'll be split. So Munster will probably get 32.5% of the revenue. So I think the impacts that the city of Limerick, and you work there all the time, is going to get a great kick from the Ed Sheeran concerts, like they do for the Munster Rugby matches when they're on. But I think we just have to put it to bed now and realise that it's a tricky situation. It's not ideal, but I don't think Munster deserve any blame for this because
No, I agree. I think you made a brilliant point there, Quinny. Sorry for interrupting you there, but you made a brilliant point. You look at people's livelihoods and the fact that, like, we both know lots of Munster staff and Irish staff, as in staff within rugby circles that have lost their jobs through COVID. This is an ability to try and start to make, money, but also to rebuild that kind of financial, I suppose, stability. And I think that's going to be really important. And yeah, you'd love to challenge, and I wouldn't do this to Munster fans because I think they're just the best fans in the world in terms of every time I look at old games in France and in England, and the amount of, like, even the Exeter game in Sandy Park, and the amount of Munster fans over there, it's just ridiculous. But I'd love to challenge them to go and fill the Aviva in red, because already people are talking online and in social media and on these pods that, just because it's gone out of Thomond Park and it's in the Aviva, that means Munster aren't going to win. I'd love just to chip in the shoulder type of thing, and prove them wrong, and almost call all the supporters and try and get them to make that journey to Dublin.
Yeah, I'd love if the journey to Dublin, and it's difficult for people, I think, is it's different. And I agree with you. I'd love the stadium to be sold out. It's a tall order to get over 50,000 people into the stadium. Toulouse will bring a couple of thousand, but I'd love to see it priced affordable.
Yes.
That the people can bring the kids, and there's options there. But who knows? We don't make those decisions. And I think what happened at the weekend, and we'll move on to that now, is the Munster performance of the weekend. And this is something that we have to be realistic here. This wasn't vintage Munster, but some of the ingredients that I and you believe are necessary when you put on a Munster jersey is passion, pride, fight, desire, and energy, all those kind of things. I think they have to be a given. I think obviously we've spoken a lot about upskilling and the attack and stuff, but I think over the last 2 weekends, people would have watched Munster and said, okay, we have deficiencies, but there was a bite there, there was a passion there was a work rate there and we focused on the game last week in Exeter, and I just think what happened over in Exeter got Munster through to the quarterfinals, because the reality is Exeter had Munster under so much pressure. Was it 4 or 5 times they were over the try line?
Yeah.
Last ditch Keith Earl's tackle. That's what wins you and gets you progression in a 2-legged affair. And I think they showed that. So things were better at the week. What did you notice? So Munster win 26-10. They were 5 points down. They win this game 26-10. On aggregate, they won 34-23. What was better this week for you in the performance? And did the crowd play a huge part in that as well?
Yeah, look, I thought the crowd were fantastic. I thought they were absolutely phenomenal. I was talking to the girls that were there. They said it was one of the best times they'd been in Thomond Park over the last couple of seasons. She just said everybody, they were just saying that everybody seemed to be on really, really good form, points were flowing, and they were living their best lives. I think for me, I had a really good think about this after I watched the game yesterday. You're watching it back, and you've got time to kind of digest things, and you're able to go back and have a look at things. I think a couple of things are very stark, okay? I don't think the Munster attack is going to change or improve much now until the end of the season. So I think that's something that
they can tweak it a bit.
Yeah, they can, but I just don't know if it's in if it's on their menu, to be honest. I think if you can turn up and be a minute at the breakdown like they have been for the last 2 games, but the last game especially, and you turn up defensively and you make it incredibly difficult for teams they have to work exceptionally hard to score, and you kick really, really well, then I think that's the pedigree that Munster have to go with for the next while.
It's probably not going to be enough to win you a trophy, though, is it?
It won't be enough to win a European trophy. Absolutely not. I don't think it will. I think Munster just had that next tier down from those very, very top teams. But I do think that's a huge, big starting point in terms of where they can bring their game to then, probably over the summer and into next season. I think I thought their breakdown work was incredible. I thought their defensive stuff, there were deficiencies in the first game, especially in that midfield pairing. I thought they put themselves under pressure, and while it wasn't perfect the other day, I thought they managed that situation way better. I thought Carberry was really, really good. I thought he kicked very well. I thought that he controls things, knowing that like they still only had like late 30s, early 40s possession, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah,
extra,
39%
yeah,
possession.
so Exeter still had a huge amount of the ball, but when I was watching it, I don't know about you, but I never really felt like from the first few minutes, I felt that Munster would overturn the 5-point deficit and they'd win.
So going back to Andy Dunn's point that they'd wear you out sometimes to watch them, I actually felt the same on Saturday, that I didn't feel any sort of, I mean this with respect now to Exeter, I didn't feel any sort of panic. I thought, yeah, there was a different feel, a different body language about them. They were, and we referenced the point when Conor Murray was off and Mike Haley was scrum-half and he was popping balls out and Peter O'Mahony passed from one of those breakdowns. There was just a different feel about their performance. And maybe they're getting a little bit more. And the reason I asked the question to tweet yesterday, because I think if you can get as close to this same team to go to Belfast, and we'll cover that at the end, well, they're growing a little bit as a group and so much chopping and changing for different reasons early on this season. And I think that's the way this team improves, that you keep a little bit of continuity and try and build. And I think the thing I was talking about, tweaking your attack, you know, they're not going to go suddenly invent a wheel and become this incredible attacking team. But I think they can be better in their execution. So in other words, I mean, when they get into that kind of attacking zone, that they can identify a 3-on-1 or a 3-on-2 and execute it. And that they didn't do that last week in Exeter when Exeter were down to 13 men. And I want to believe that this is kind of like the FA Cup, the traditional FA Cup, that the underdog can beat the better team. And it gives me a little bit of hope that if they do get everything right, and they do have to get so much of their game right against a Toulouse or possibly a Leicester or Leinster in the semi-final, if they get there, let's not go too far forward. I'm losing the run of myself here. But, you know, maybe they can cause problems. And I've always said this, if that fight and that bravery is there in the way they play, then Munster fans will be pretty happy. Just on some of the individual performances, you mentioned Carberry. What about Peter O'Mahony? I just saw
exceptional.
A sensational performance.
Yeah.
Jack O'Donoghue and Hodnett, the three of them in the back row.
I know Gavin Coombs is injured, but for me, that looks the most balanced back row that we've had all season in terms of the balance and how they work off each other, how they feed off each other. I thought O'Mahony, it's like as if he just comes out for these games and decides this is now where I switch in because all the rest of the games weren't knockout. This is a knockout game, and he just goes up another gear. We see it when he does it with Ireland as well in crunch moments, and I thought he was excellent. And I thought that was probably the big difference maker. I thought the back row battle was won so convincingly by Munster. I thought that their mentality to in terms of the dominance. So, you know, the reason why they got such joy at the breakdown was because of the defensive dominance in terms of the actual physical hit. They weren't soaking a huge amount of tackles. They were actually getting up and driving people, extra lads back, and therefore the next fella can come in and try and get in over the ball. I just thought that back row balance was just incredible.
I also thought that they were more accurate with the ball as well. Yeah. And the back row played a big part of that.
Was huge. Delande was excellent as well.
Yeah, the turnovers conceded on Saturday at home were 9. They were the same number over in Exeter, 9 turnovers conceded. And the one that really jumps out that everyone's talking about is the breakdown. Turnovers won by Munster were 8 on Saturday, 3 by Exeter. But funny enough, when I look back at it, turnovers won by Munster in Exeter was 8 as well. So nothing really changed. I just think they were probably more disciplined in not giving away penalties, and their body language was a lot better. And I was trying to figure this out. Was that a huge shift this week? What was so much better was 16 penalties in Exeter. It was 9 at the weekend. And you said it last week as a coach, and you're probably preaching this to your own teams, under 10, isn't that it?
Yeah, and look, you look to get to under. You don't want to get to double figures. It's very difficult to win a game. I think a couple of things there, though. I think Matthew Reynal was definitely put under pressure by O'Mahony at times, which was like that's his job. I thought he was excellent this weekend, but also the crowd. I thought they played such a huge performance and in swaying some 50-50 decisions. But yeah, look, I just thought there was so look, we're not going to run away with ourselves. I thought there was a huge amount of positive aspects of that game. Some other like couple of things, and this is you can get pernickety about stuff, but I think Simon Zebo must have only touched the ball twice, maybe. Like I felt like we didn't get the ball to our wide channels enough. Like that back, Earls and Zebo, absolutely incredible. I just thought when we had this incredible talent, I just don't understand why we don't use them anymore. Do you know what I mean? And like that moment of magic from Zebo to offload to Delande was just like part of me was like, where is he going? He's just going to get smashed over the touchline, like, and then to have the ability to throw that offload and
And we spoke about that at the start of the
took
season.
out three players. Yeah,
We spoke about it start of the season. That's what Simon Zebra can do, that little bit of X factor. And that makes a difference at times. I think just on the getting the ball wide, at times they don't get over the gain line enough. And even for the Zebra try at the end, I think it was a great carry by Mike Haley, by Jack O'Donoghue over the gain line. The ball is quicker. So I think it starts.
I'm not even talking about getting a wide though, Quinny. I'm talking about them having the ability to work off their wings.
Oh, yeah, to come in off their wings as well. Yeah, but I just think getting over the gain line helps all that. And maybe that's a little bit of part of the changes that need to happen. So overall, there was some great performances. Again, I keep mentioning Jean Klein, workhorse, and was very, very important, his physicality. Dia Linde is someone we're going to miss. I know Malachi Fekitoa is coming in Exeter, but I just think Dia Linde, when he's on song, he's so disciplined. He's such a nuisance at the breakdown. No panic on the ball, and he really makes them stick. Chris Farrell was better as well this week. Didn't get kind of caught with those kind of wide runners. So it was a very, very good performance. Gives a little bit of heart and hope, but it's the matches are coming quick and fast. And if I'm just going to get up my Pro 4 URC table here. Munster go to Ulster on Friday night. And one of the questions, and some of the tweeters were talking about there, keep the same team. Munster have to go as strong as they can here. I was checking the injury list this morning. There's no bumps and bruises and stuff. There's no Dave Kilcoyne. There's no Ty Byrne. There's no Andrew Conway. There's who else is injured? Andrew Conway, Kilcoyne, Dave Kilcoyne, and Ty Byrne. They're four starters that are missing.
Gavin
Coombs. Yeah, we don't know how long they're out. They may not be back for a number of weeks. Who knows? But I think what we see at the moment, this is probably the strongest side that Munster kind of can pick on paper at the moment. So they go to Ulster on Friday night. Ulster obviously would have been devastated after what happened on Saturday night.
Yeah.
They went to Toulouse, they won. The late Toulouse try over there, I just had the feeling that could be a problem for them. I thought they'd get through. Intimac and Dupont caused them major problems and had a big say in Ulster going out. How difficult a game is that Friday night? It's a must-win game, I think, for Munster. Munster have 3 games left. They're away to Ulster, home to Cardiff, and away to Leinster. And in the table, they're on 47 points, sitting in 4th. But the problem for Munster is the Stormers are 5th on 47. The Sharks are 6th on 46. Edinburgh are 7th on 44. And the Bulls are 8th on 43. So there's only 4 points separating 4th and 8th. And all the other teams, I think, they'll probably win this weekend. Those South African teams will probably win. So there's a chance Munster could slip down to 7th or 8th here if they don't beat Ulster. And I'm sure Ulster will want nothing more than to bounce back and kind of secure a home semi-final for themselves. How difficult is it going to be going to the Kingspan? I just before you answer that, the last time we beat them was in 2016, 28th of October 2016, 14-15. Rory Scannell with a drop goal in the before.
I remember that.
I remember watching it at home with my mum in Tipperary and screaming. It was they were 14-0 down. They won 15-14. So can we go to Belfast and win?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be incredibly difficult. I think I've been really impressed with Ulster this season. I thought they were incredibly lucky last weekend against Toulouse. I thought even some of the rugby they played in that game was really, really good. That try by Ethan McElroy was just like super. So yeah, look, I do think it's going to be a difficult task, and this is the thing now. If you're coaching Munster and you're looking to get to that next level, you've got to look at consistency, and you've got to look at being able to back up performances in terms of being able to get to that mental pitch of where they got to last weekend. And that's a really difficult thing to do 2 weeks in a row. And we don't often see the best teams, having to do that, because more often than not, they don't play incredibly tough games week after week after week. So the likes of Leinster will, only when they get to semi-final, final stages of competition, so they get really, for me, in my eyes, get pushed. Toulouse is the same. So to be able to back that kind of, that
What you're saying there is emotional.
the emotional balance.
The emotional pitch has got to be really high this week again, going to Belfast. I was chatting to Mark Robson. I'm going to be commentating the game Friday night, and we've done many games over the years, Robbo and myself, and he said he was so sad on Saturday night he could barely ask Ian Henderson the questions after the game, that they were absolutely so devastated there. So is this a case of Munster? And I'm saying this to Robert this morning. Munster now are in great fettle, confident, feeling good. Ulster down the dumps. Will we go up to Belfast? No problem. We'll win this game. That's not going to happen, surely.
No, I think
Ulster will be chomping at the bit to try and get back.
Completely. And Dan McFarland is a super coach. And, I love listening to him. I think how he's got them ticking in their academy system that they've come through. They're just doing lots of things right off the pitch, and I think we're seeing it on. And I think even when Billy Burns went off at a HIA the other night, Mike Lowry just stepped in, and it was like it didn't really make much of a difference to them. The only thing is that if Munster go to similar 23 or team and squad, I think that Munster bench will be huge. I think it'll be a little bit have a little bit more nous about them in terms of their ability to impact games. I think that's probably a small bit where Ulster fell down last weekend. Don't think their bench was as strong as what was coming off. And I think that if Munster can be in a position like 55, 60 minutes where they're more than in this game, then bringing the likes of Ahern, Cadell and Casey off the bench will definitely, I think, should catapult them to the win. But it's going to be really, really difficult up there. Incredibly hostile environments. But I think if you're a player, it's kind of the type of game that you really look forward to.
What do they have to bring, Niamh? I know we're kind of looking into a crystal ball here as regards selections. Who knows? Maybe both teams will make a couple of changes.
No, you'd have to think from a Munster point of view, it's going to be similar. Like they need consistency. I think in team selection, they're playing Cardiff at home in Musgrave Park the week after. Let that be your downtime for players. I really think that I'd imagine that they would have blocked off those 3 weeks, the 2 games against Exeter and the game against Ulster, to push their strongest team going a down week, and then they can bring it back up after the Cardiff game. So from a Munster point of view, am I wrong? Surely they need to be.
Yeah, does it matter how they win this if they go to try and win it? Do they have to be brave and play attacking rugby in Belfast, or will they revert? Is there a danger we may revert here to containment again and kicking the ball a lot? Or should they go and try and attack Ulster?
It's kind of like a yin and yang question, Quinny, and I'll tell you why. Munster seem better without the ball at times than they do with it. And
yeah, their defence has been very good this year.
Super. And so is it a case of, like the last 2 weeks against Exeter, you afford the opposition time and possession on the ball, but yet you're smarter in how you play with it. So you play a lot more territory, and then you take your chances when they come. I feel like the way Munster went about their business against Exeter is probably best suited for Munster, and it might not be what, the neutral supporter wants to see in relation to, throwing the ball around. I just think that they seem to have found a little niche in terms of what they're really good at. They're excellent in defence. They're really like nuisances, a complete and utter like pain in the hole at the breakdown, and they can kick really well. And I just think that that's probably where Munster are at the moment, and that's not a slight. That's just what suits that group. And as they move into opposition scoring zones, we start to see them kind of move the ball a little bit with pace. Start to see players running off the ball with lines of running that make it difficult. You can see the wide players staying wide so that those bridge passes are there. And I just think that I think that's what suits Munster best right now. And I think that's probably what they will think you like. I think that's go with.
Well, my tuppence worked on it is they have to be really physical and they have to bring an intensity Friday night, because the crowd are going to get behind Ulster. They're going to try and pick them up. They're going to look for reactions themselves as individuals, and Dan McFarlane had challenged his players this week. No better way of kind of feeling better about yourself than beating one of your biggest rivals on Friday night at home in front of the home crowd, cementing their place possibly, because they'll go to 54, 55 if they win with a home semi-final. So it's really important for them. They control the kitchen sink now at the URC. So I think for Munster, a couple of steps forward, given where we were a few weeks ago against Leinster, and to get through to the quarterfinals, I think was really important. And I think it's important for their own mentality that they go there. And there's no guarantee, because it's going to be a very difficult game, but they have to bring an energy and an aggressiveness, because otherwise Ulster will, cause them problems. And I hope we don't see it on Friday night now. Even if Munster lose, I just hope that there's a fight and there's an energy about the performance. And I think that has to happen. I'm sure that's what they're going to try and do at the weekend. Just quickly before we finish up, positive weekend as regards Munster's performance. Let's hope we're talking about some of that positivity again next week. Your challenge this weekend, just quickly, you've got England and Welford Road. I have some good memories from Welford Road over the years. Very tough place to go, but you're playing England there at 12 o'clock on Sunday. It's a bit of a daunting task. So just tell me where your mindset is at, and particularly after a really positive win against Italy, how are you viewing this game?
Yeah, look, we're very aware of where England lie in World Rugby. They are not the best team in the world for nothing. They're incredibly good at what they do, and been professional now for a couple of seasons, and they have a big eye on the World Cup in September. That's their goal, is they made these players professional to go and win a World Cup. So look, we're obviously definitely going to be underdogs, but we're very much preparing in our own way. We're kind of looking at ourselves more than anything else. We've got to see improvement from France in terms of that level of where France and England are. We've got to kind of see if we can close that gap, and give a good account of ourselves. I think we've just got to continue to try and develop, and this is kind of where we see the best people. Obviously it's a very much changed squad, Quinny. You know that already, because the Sevens girls are gone, which makes it you can look at it two ways. Obviously, they're incredibly good athletes, brilliant people, and really good rugby players. But it's now an opportunity for the extended 38-man squad that we'd selected at the start to come in and stake their claim. We've got a big summer ahead of us too in terms of plans for tour and stuff. So in order for that to happen, we've got to try and expose as many people to international rugby. But look, it's going to be a great experience. Leicester, I've never been there before. Obviously, I'm a rugby fan. I'm so excited to see Welford Road, but also the fact that England are doing women's rugby really, really well at the moment. I think there's going to be something like 15,000 people at the game. So I think if you're a player for us right now, you've just got to go soak up the experience and make sure that we can account ourselves quite well.
Okay. Well, look, the best of luck with it. You've summed it up there, how strong they are, but you'll have to go and throw the kitchen sink at them. Just to wrap up on any other gossip. We don't have any other gossip really, only that we're hearing assistant coaches, Mike Prendergast and Dennis Leamy. I'm hearing their names a little bit this week. Graham Rowntree has obviously got involved. I've been given the head job last week. So maybe we'll have a little bit of news on the assistant coaches next week. And that's kind of what people are waiting on now. Who's going to be Graham Rowntree's team? So we'll wait and see. That's it from episode 28 of the Red 78. To make sure you get your podcast straight to your phone, just search the Red 78 and press subscribe. And don't forget to get in touch with your thoughts. You can tweet Niamh or myself at our own Twitter handles, or else you can tweet the Rugby at Rugby Channel 15, or leave a comment on YouTube. So that's it for this week. Good luck to you, Niamh, and thanks again.
Thanks, Billy.
The Munster Rugby Podcast, Red 78 with Alan Quinlan and Niamh Briggs. Nobody knows Munster Rugby better.